Well, hello everybody. So I'm just going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to do just a walkthrough of where I am at with being ready for drywall, which is in about 1 week. Still have a lot to do, so I'm feeling a little pressured, but I think I'm going to be able to make it, and I'm bringing in some help. I've had help over the last few days and will continue to have help for a couple more days this week with Jim. So let's go ahead and just start. Let's just start over in the master bathroom and show you what has been done in there. Now, most of this, I need to grab a light. Most of the work that I'm going to show you is the work of Jim. I had him come out and help and tackle the remaining needs of the bathroom. So let's go ahead over there and I'll show you what he's been working on, what he got accomplished. All right, well, as you can see here, there is a new floor in the bathroom, and that was because from that wall to this wall, there was a good 1-inch drop, and that would have been very noticeable as you walk in from the master bedroom into here. He started by ripping out the old floor and then figuring out how to do the slope or correct the slope. So that ended up being putting some shims on the floor joists that were in here, and had to go up higher on this side and no shims over there. So once he got that floor figured out, then he had to also move the plumbing, because it turned out that this toilet flange here, because we're gonna rotate the toilet and have it facing this direction here. Originally it was facing this direction. Well, we had to move it over by 3 inches and by 3 inches. Otherwise it wouldn't have met code compliance, being 15 inches off of this wall here and 12 inches from the back. And then we also moved the sink plumbing, the sink drain, over to this wall where the sink is going to be. And then in addition to that, he had to move the drain for the tub. So that entailed taking our soaker tub, which is that guy there, bringing it in here, positioning it the way that we wanted to, and determining the layout of the faucet, because it's a floor mounted faucet that comes up over the tub. The tub faucet is going to be mounted about right here, and so there's some blocking underneath there for it to connect to and have a good mounting point. So the last thing to do here is to run the water lines for the sink and of course the water lines for the tub. I can do that later. I don't need to do that in order to be ready for drywall. This room is ready for drywall. I got all the insulation in place in the new framing for the entry door, and the flooring is now nice and smooth transition between the two rooms. Feels great. Everything's nice and level. So continuing on, some other things that Jim has been working on, helping me out, is the transition from the main area to this hallway here. If you guys remember, one of the things that I wanted to do when I put in the new floor was drop the floor by 1 inch or 2, 1.5 inches actually, because there was a transition right here where this floor was raised up by 1 inch, 1.5 inches or something like that, and it needed to be lowered down so that way we could have a nice smooth transition from room to hallway, and that's now in place. This piece right here is actually not secured down all the way because I'm going to be using it as an access point to run the water lines before I put that in place permanently and then put the flooring down. Let's talk about this east wall here. I had to plumb out this wall because it was going backwards, and I had to kind of smooth it out so it wasn't wavy. There was a comment by one of you that the way that I did it, by using small shims like this here to make it plumb, that this was not going to be strong enough to hold the sheetrock in place and be a nice sturdy wall. And I was thinking about that as I was doing the work, and it kind of just like, just kept going forward. But you were right, that was just not going to be very strong. So I ended up coming in and just putting a 2x4 directly behind every one of the pieces of shim. So now It is a very solid piece. So the 2x4 goes from the top plate all the way down to the bottom plate. It's secured in, they're tacked together very tightly. It has definitely improved the strength significantly. That gave me the opportunity also to do a couple things. Made wiring a lot easier, which I'll get to, and it also allowed me to continue putting those Simpson strong tie screws, the truss screws, from the bottom plate down to the new floor joists, securing that bottom plate to the new flooring that I just did. One of the things that I was thinking about is, as I was going to be putting in the electrical boxes for the outlets, without having the 2x4 in the back here, there was really nothing to nail onto, and it just wasn't working out very well. Even with these thicker pieces here, the nails that are in the boxes didn't really have a lot to nail into. So by adding those 2x4s, then that gave me the ability for the boxes to be put into place and nailed in securely. So you can see, like right here, it actually touches the beginning of the stud. And so that really helped out with adding these boxes. So in addition to fixing the sturdiness of the wall, I started doing the electrical. I figured it was going to take me about a week to do, just for logistics and trying to think through all the scenarios where I need to run wire before I start putting insulation and drywall. First thing I had to do is trace out all of the available circuits. I think I had like 7 circuits that were just kind of loosely tied up there from doing all the demo work that I had done over the last 5 months. And then traced them out, figured out exactly where they went into the circuit breaker panel, and then measured out how long they were so I could figure out where I could use them along my electrical needs, which included lighting, plugs, both inside and outside the house. Once I had all of the circuits figured out, then it was a matter of figuring out which circuits I'm going to use for what. And so I had already gotten the kitchen done for all of the plugs and all the appliances, but I hadn't figured out the lighting for the kitchen yet. So that was an extra circuit I needed for the kitchen lighting. And for the living room lighting, I needed a circuit for the for the plugs in the living room. I needed circuit for the plugs in the dining room over there. I needed circuit for, I thought maybe I needed separate circuits for the kitchen lighting, dining room lighting, and living room lighting, but looking at the code and then looking at total load, number of wattage, and number of lights, I'm going to be able to have the kitchen and dining room lights in one circuit and the living room lights in its own circuit. So I need a circuit, 2 circuits for that. Circuit for out in the laundry room, the plugs and lights, separate circuits, and then a circuit for the outside lighting for the deck out there. I have been working hard on doing wiring for all of my circuits, trying to be as neat and tidy with my wiring as I can, and making sure that I stay halfway inside of the studs with all my wiring. And I am labeling as I go along, so that way if I ever have to trace down a wire going up into the attic, whatever, all of it is labeled very nicely. Circuits for the north bedroom, that's going to be over there. I'll wire those when I'm going to be working on that north bedroom in a future date. And then I also finished up all of the, I have wire, so this is considered still a living room, so I got the wiring going up and over, using some of the old wiring that was still in place and new wiring as needed. But as you can see, I got everything traced down and neatly wired and organized. I think we are going to be putting a fireplace right here without a mantle. So kept in mind keeping the plugs away from the fireplace enough. We're not going to have any plugs up here for a mantelpiece because we're not going to have a mantle. And then we come over into the wiring for the dining room. And Actually brought power up and over through the ceiling. So hard at work on wiring. What I'm working on now is all of the lighting wiring. And so I'll be having a box here that controls lighting for the kitchen and for the dining room, and one for going outside. I'll have a second box here for the dining room and for outside. And then I'll have a second box over here that controls kitchen, hallway kitchen lighting and living room lighting. So a lot of these are two-way switches or three-way switches, whatever you call them. So there's some extra thought process to go into that, because you have to run different type of wiring for the two-way switches and make sure that you have enough space for the outlets in the box, enough space for all the wire in the box, because every one of these boxes are rated to carry only a certain number of electrical wires, or a certain number of the copper wires. So for example, if you run just regular wire, that's 3 wires. You have the ground, the load, and the neutral. But if you run a two-way switch wire, that's an extra 4th wire. And so you have to count all of those wires to make sure you're not overloading the box in terms of capacity. So there's lots to think about through the wiring process. So that's what I'm working on now. Kind of where we're at the moment. Everything's disorganized. Well, it's kind of organized in a disorganized fashion, if you will. And there's still a lot of little things to do in order to be ready for drywall. For example, Jim's coming back this week and he's gonna be helping with all those little things like this right here. What is this? Well, this is a nailer piece for the drywall, because up here, as you can see, my stud doesn't go beyond the bottom of the rafter, and drywall has to reach the bottom of this rafter. So this nailer piece will essentially go like that in order to have a continuous wall all the way to the bottom of the rafter. So there's, I don't know, there's 20 or so of these to nail in, and then just a bunch of little things like making sure that all of the nailer plates are put in place where there's wiring going through studs that aren't directly in the center, and making sure that there's blocking in place in like the corners. We missed a corner stud blocking here. So just lots of little things to do. And then of course it's starting on insulation. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. I know not a very exciting video, but I wanted to give you guys an update because I really haven't been filming much this last week while doing all of this work. So I really wanted to just focus and not get slowed down by filming, because that does slow me down quite a bit. So anyway, that's where we're at the moment. Next episode will be doing insulation and being drywall ready, and I have 1 week to do that. And then also I have to clean up all this place so the drywallers aren't having to work around this giant mess. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.